So we're going to change this as we move across the semesters into program building and actual events that we can do and participate in that are going to improve health and wellness. So one of the things that we are looking at is in April, there is the half marathon and the 5K that Hallie Chillag does and oversees. She has decided that she is also going to, as part of that and moving up to that, she is going to do a couch to 5K. And she is going to start that right after spring break. She was not able to speak to us. She was on a flight to LA. She has gone to see, I believe it is her cousin or her niece's brand new daughter. And so she flew out to see her and wasn't able to be here. But she said that she will be sending out information to be able to let you know if you're wanting to do that and get in shape to do a 5K, that she would have the program run and then end right before the 5K actually happens for the UC Marathon. She also said that she would be willing, for anyone who was willing to kind of participate in that, she would have a discount in getting into the race. So I thought that was kind of a nice thing. You'll see that. Another thing that I wanted to mention just before Jane kind of talks about one of our big things is we have a Facebook page that we have now opened. It will be open. It'll be a private group that is only available to faculty and staff. It is Get Fit UCWV. It is open, it is up, there will be things posted in there about events that we are having, but there will also be general information, health and wellness information, some dietitian, nutrition stuff, but we will have that Facebook up and running, and we will be starting to invite, I'm going to hop in there as soon as I've got the list from today, and start inviting people to be a part of that, and that gives us a way to kind of track what is going on. Jane is going to mention one of the other programs that we're looking at doing.
Okay, we thought in a wellness program it's always fun to have a little bit of friendly competition among departments and everything. So we are going to try to institute, we're not going to implement it today, but in the near future you should be getting some information sent to you about this. Let me get this up. It's called My Virtual Mission. And here's their main page. But anyway, we can take a journey as a group to anywhere we want to in the whole world. So what we plan to do is have groups, and this gives you the opportunity to compete like department against department. And when you see the map, it'll show the map, and you can go to the satellite map and actually see the exact point on Earth where you are, which I'll show you in mine in a second. But it shows the group, and then your individual that you would see. So everybody doesn't see what everybody else is doing, but your whole group is trying to get to a point before the rest of the groups and things like that. So it's friendly competition, and we're going to place that up a mission. We might go back and forth across the United States. We talked about going to Australia, because you can go over the ocean. We try to go to islands in between. But so it's kind of a fun, like a journey thing. So I'm going to show you my personal account. You can make your own missions. There's a free app if you want to do it on an individual basis, and you can go to myvirtualmission.com, and it's free. And like I made a mission, I'm walking right now from Miami to St. Augustine. So let me pull this up so you can see. Yeah. You put in there like how many days you want to complete this mission in like 2 months, and then it'll tell you how many days a week how many steps you need to walk per week. So I'm not getting very far along right now. But I can go to my pen, and here I am. I'm on this road. But it is really cool. So what we thought we would do when we get this started is have our different teams. So think about, your department, try to get people interested in thinking about it. So we're going to be getting this set up in the near future, and we'll be department versus department. And and also, if you're not a walker or a jogger or a runner, that's okay. If you swim, if you bike, if you do yoga, all different kinds of exercises you can enter in, and it will automatically convert those to miles. So any kind of activity, just to keep everybody active. So it works out well that way, and so no one's left out. And but in the sake of time, I'm going to stop. I want wanted you guys to get a heads up on what we're going to be bringing down in the future. And I think it'll be fun and we'll enjoy seeing it. And on the Facebook page, as the teams progress along, we plan to put pictures out of like Fort Lauderdale or, you know, the middle of the ocean or wherever we are on our trip. So anyway, we think that'll be fun.
Okay, so now we'll kind of shift it over. I'm going to quickly introduce Brandon. Brandon is the owner of iFit 24. If anyone knows, along down the road towards, I'm horrible at directions, but most of you know, in that shopping center, iFit 24, Brandon worked for 20 years, he told me, at the YMCA. Prior to this, he is kind of a known face, sort of at UC. He's been in a couple of classes and etc. We will also say that his dad happened to be the old dean of students here, if you've been here for a while, so he is very much a UC person, if we can put it that way. But I'm going to turn it over to Brandon to kind of share what he has about his studio.
Well, first off, I want to say what's going on here is really cool. This is great that everybody's being very interactive, and I can say that when I look around here, I can tell that it's going to be an easy sell. There's a lot of fit individuals in this room. So, why am I here? Well, I want to tell you a little bit about my history. I was at the YMCA for 20 years, and I developed, I'm really fancy, because who knows what I'm going to talk about? I do it all. But I was at the YMCA for 20 years, and I developed a following there, started teaching boot camp classes, and then I had the opportunity on March 3rd, that's 3 years ago, 2017. iFit 24 opened up. It was for sale. And I decided that I wanted to buy it. And I would do anything to do so because I wanted to expand my reach. I wanted to help more people. I've lived in West Virginia all my life. I love West Virginia. I was a student at Marshall University. But 3 years ago, I took the plunge, and I have not looked back. I work every day, busting my tail to help people become healthier. And I'm here to help educate you guys, kind of give you an idea of what we do at iFit 24. Sort of talk about, like, what do we need to do as far as fitness goes? Like, what's enough? What's too much? What should I be doing? Whatever I'm doing, I should enjoy it, definitely. That's extremely important. If you don't enjoy it, you're definitely not going to keep up with it. Do you have a community that surrounds you, that helps influence you to be consistent with your exercise, whatever that may be? And at iFit 24, I think Lane can attest and Mindy can attest that we do have a wonderful family there. And that family basically supports each other. We support each other through social media, through events that I've had at iFit 24. I've had 2 fundraisers, and it's funny, I was like, when I went into business, I said, I want to not only help the community with fitness, but I also want to do fundraisers for the community. And I said, we're going to do one every quarter. I've done 2 in 3 years, yeah. They're quite stressful. But we teamed up with Ronald McDonald House, and we've done 2 fundraisers for them. In fact, we've raised around $25,000 in 2 fundraisers. And like when I say that my business is small, there's basically like 3 to 4 of us that ran that fundraiser, and we raised $25,000. I'm very proud of that because we were actually able to build a fitness center at the Ronald McDonald House with the money raised. So that's a pretty cool thing that we've done. But on a weekly basis, I'm a business owner, a counselor, a coach. I work out myself 5 days a week. I help people every day. I've been up since 4:45 this morning, which is pretty much a typical day for me. I've already worked with about 45 people. In January alone, I trained about 1,000 people. It's 1,000 people that I've helped. And that's in the room called the PC, which is the Performance Center. That room is 20 by 55 feet. So in that room, we lift weights. I teach people how to move better. I teach people how to get stronger. We are a locally owned business. There's no one else. There's not another one. We had someone from, was in Texas, and he was like trying to get a deal. He's like, can I get a discount on my membership? Because there's one out down here in Texas. I was like, yeah, we're the only one, buddy. Sorry. Just like, we're locally owned. We're not a franchise in any shape or form. The guy that owned before me, he did a fantastic job of branding. So when you look at iFit 24, it looks like there might be more of us, but there's only one. And we're located in Ashton Place, Kroger. Quick question. And the first one who answers this gets a prize. So get out your phones. I want you to Google or get on Amazon and look up diet books and tell me how many come up. First one to answer wins the prize.
90,000.
Woo, that's a lot.
Over 90,000.
That was up. So 90,000 books. Who said that? Get a fancy, one of a kind. It was left in the gym earlier this morning. I cleaned it up. So there's 90-some thousand books on Amazon. Who's confused about diet already? Yeah. So what do we eat? What do we eat? Which book do we buy? Which book is popular now? How do we motivate ourselves to eat healthier? What's the right way to eat? Does anybody know? Does anybody have a good answer? Well, exactly. So I like to say I'm a dietary agnostic. When it comes to eating properly, I'm good with whatever works for you on a daily basis. If it doesn't work for you on a daily basis, then it's not going to work in the long run. And the most important thing when it comes to eating healthy is something you can consistently do day in and day out. It has to be sustainable. Whenever I hear someone say, I can't, or I won't, or I shouldn't, those are all setups for failure when it comes to an eating plan or becoming healthier. I can't have this, I can't have that. You can have all the foods just in moderation. I like to call it the 80-20 diet. 80% of the time you should be eating foods that are healthy and good for you. 20% of the time you get play foods. Like on a daily basis, I get home and I have a beer because I like beer. But during the day, I have very healthy food. When on the weekends, people are like, I'll post pictures like they don't believe it. But I'm like, yeah, this is what I eat on the weekend. It's okay to eat some things like that. So when it comes to weight loss, what's the most important thing? It's the question. And what's the most important thing we should focus on? Is it exercise? Is it food? Is it eating more protein? What's the most important thing when it comes to weight loss? Being consistent? Looking for a different answer?
Burn more than you're eating.
Can't answer. That's the correct answer. So, let's see what you get. So you win a 1 month of my class. Congratulations. Yes. So the most important thing when it comes to weight loss is your caloric intake. Everybody wants to tell you, it's carbs. Well, I'm going to start cutting out those carbs because when I cut out those carbs, then the weight just drops off quickly. And we know why that happens, right? Why do we lose weight when we drop carbs off or just go down to zero, net zero on carbs? You lose a lot of water weight. That happens quickly. You start reducing your carbohydrate intake. For that reduction in carbohydrates, you lose a lot of water weight. So it's really fun the first few weeks. Yeah. Then it slows down quite a bit. So how many of you are exercising currently? Doing something? Pretty cool. Andy? You're coming back on Friday.
Come on, Mindy.
Yeah, those messages aren't working. So anyway, it's great that you all are exercising. What's holding you back? What's keeping you from exercising? Too busy? Work? Okay. What if we brought exercise to you? What if we gave you the option of doing something here? What if iFit were to come here and give you something that is what I would teach up at the Performance Center, but we bring it here? Because from what I understand, Lynn's told me you have an amazing facility that maybe goes underutilized when it comes to staff involvement. So I think it'd be pretty cool if we did something like that. What if we were to come down here and have a class? What's a good time to have a class? This seems like a good time. What about like a 45-minute class? Would that be fun?
Yeah.
Would that be good?
What's that?
45
A 45-minute class? 3 to 4 days a week? Okay. So when it comes to training at iFit 24, we're not CrossFit, we're not Orange Theory. I've been doing this for 22 years. I see how exercise affects people. I see what we need. I've aged 22 years in that time. I know how it has affected my body. I still lift heavy weights because I believe that's very important within reason. I train 4 to 5 days a week. I don't think I've lost much as far as strength is concerned as I've aged. It's because I sleep well, I eat reasonably well, and I focus on staying strong and getting strong. As we age, what's the first thing we lose when it comes to fitness? Muscle mass. So actually, if we want to get specific, the first thing that we lose is power. So one of the easiest ways, I think Lynn's heard me explain it this way, but one of the easiest ways to explain power loss is you're walking downtown, you're 18 years old, you stub your toe on the curb, you trip, you regain your balance, your friends laugh at you. You're 78 years old, you're walking with your friends, you stub your toe, you fall, you break both wrists. That's power loss. That's the difference in being able to react to a situation at a young age and not being able to react to a situation at an older age. So with that said, how do we maintain power? Well, we got to lift weights. 2 to 3 days a week, you should be lifting weights. And you should be trying to get as strong as possible. And you should be trying to put as much muscle mass on as possible. Because you're not going to put on enough. I can tell you that right now. Everybody's like, oh, I don't want to lift weights because I'm going to get huge. I'm going to start taking 20 more grams of protein and everything pops out. It just does not work that way. I've been lifting weights, and I lift heavy weights, and have done so for 30 years. I've been lifting for 30 years, and this is as big as I can get. I'm not a massive man. So with that said, as much muscle mass as you can put on your body, it will help to maintain resiliency. And what's resiliency? It's our ability to, recover from a fall, our ability to recover from our grandkids beating us up, being able to go to the beach and play games with your kids and not sit on the towel all day, like actually living life instead of, sitting down and being tired and exhausted all the time. And it's a perpetual cycle that, it's hard to break out of. And when it comes to strength training, it doesn't mean you have to be a bodybuilder. Like Lynn can attest that when you come into my classes, it's all within reason. I've got guys in my class that are deadlifting over 400 pounds, and I have women that are in the corner that are just learning how to deadlift. So they're picking up a kettlebell that weighs 53 pounds. But it's okay. It's okay. Like it's all relative. The goal is to get strong based on where you are, where you currently sit in your fitness level. So with that said, like cardiovascular exercise is extremely important too. But a lot of people have the mindset that cardio needs to be sweat angels, laying in the corner, curled up, crying to mama, sucking on your thumb because the workout just destroys you. That does not have, you don't have to exercise like that to become fit. I don't do that to myself. I mean, there's some times that I'm like regretting what I just did, but it's not on a regular basis. Like, and as we age, you don't have to destroy your body or destroy yourself in a workout in order to become fit. It's true. And I've got, multiple people that train with me that I can show you examples of these people that have made dramatic changes in their bodies without having to kill themselves. I had another question. So, I had another giveaway, but I gave you the answer already. So who can answer it the quickest? So, when we're talking about exercise, what should be the main course?
Lift and weights.
Yes. I was looking at a book test. There you go. If you want a gift certificate, you are a 3-month membership winner. Yeah. So, take home. I don't want to keep it very long. If you have questions, I'd love to answer questions. If you want to communicate, I would love to talk further about how we can come down here and help you on site instead of, everybody needs a third place. You've got work, you've got home. We always say I like for the iFit24 to be your third place. For you to go there and make it feel like it's your second home. That's the way I like to make everyone feel when they come in. But a lot of times, schedule conflicts. You got kids in the evening that have places to be. You don't want to get up at 5:30 a.m. I understand that. So let us help you by bringing it here. Does that sound like a good idea? Would you like to do that? How big is the space here? I haven't seen it.
You can
Like-
come by
Okay.
on our way out.
Is it as big as this room? Half the size of this room?
The gym's big, and then there's two different rooms, two workout, studio.
So what we can do is create an atmosphere where we create a community here, because you already have the community. I'm assuming that most of you know each other fairly well, or you've seen each other in passing. So this is a way to build the community even more. We could bring it here, and maybe with a minimal investment, we could get some equipment here, and 2 or 3 days a week, you knock it out right in the middle of the day, you get your exercise done. And this will be, like, the workout that we're doing is not, like, first off, we don't do burpees at iFit 24.
No burpees.
Amen! So, with that said, I always say burpees are just like, I don't get it. Like, I haven't done a burpee in 5 years, and I'm doing okay. I always call them punitive and not productive. So, and then the celebrations for birthdays, like, yeah, happy freaking birthday, do some burpees, what? No. So, with that said, we focus our exercise around pushing, pulling, lunging, squatting, hinging, and carrying stuff. The most important of those being able to hinge. Okay, so hinging is basically bending over, using your hamstrings and glutes instead of using your lower back to lift objects. It's extremely important. Most people are very poor at doing that type of movement. So that's the first thing we do, Lynn knows. But I would love to come here and help you all. We can talk further. I don't know who I could coordinate with Sherry. And thank you, Sherry, for bringing me.
You're welcome.
It's great. So, just to wrap it up, any questions? Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Question? Question? Okay, thanks. Appreciate
You need no introduction. No introduction.
This is Layla Rice. She's in the PA department, and she has an area of expertise in cardiology, and she's going to do us a quick rundown on the heart.
No one else is going to use the microphone, do I have to? I'll just put this right here, that way I can be out front too. So I don't know that I have an expertise, but I graduated PA school in 2008, and all I've practiced in has been cardiology. So for 12 years, that's what I've done. I love cardiology. If you come to my office, I have a chocolate heart, I have a deer heart, I have heart pictures. I'm clearly wearing hearts on my shirt right now, and a heart necklace, even though it's not a real heart. I love cardiology because I love simply how it works, and it's just so simple. But the gist of heart disease, I don't love because it's just astronomical, the problems that we have with heart disease. So I have a lot of patients. I will never have a shortage of patients until programs like this take over. I mean, of course, there's genetics and things, but we have to do something in order to eliminate my patient load. I would love to have less patients on the weekend. So that's what we're doing here. So we're going to talk about kind of what it is and kind of what we can do about it. So we'll define it and talk about some symptoms and things that you can do. So what is heart disease and what does it matter? So heart disease kind of gets lumped as a whole group of conditions that affect the heart. Whether it's the structure of the heart. I always describe the heart as like a house. So you have your walls and you have your doors and your foundation of your heart, of your house. You have the same thing of your heart. You have your heart walls, you have valves, which are like doors and windows, and your foundation, which is your ventricles. You have plumbing in your house, you have plumbing of your heart, and you have electricity of your house, you have electricity of your heart. So any one of those can go bad, and maybe even a combination of those, and then that is essentially heart disease. Most commonly, heart disease is the plumbing problem. So the plumbing gets all crudded up and gets blocked up, and then that reduces the blood flow to the muscle, which is again the walls and the foundation. And if your walls start crumbling of your house is going to go down. So then that leads to heart failure. It erodes the wiring inside the walls, so the same thing, so electrical issues. So plumbing going bad leads to structural issues as well as electrical issues. And that is heart disease. So we have to fix the plumbing as the major issue going on with heart disease. And so atherosclerosis is kind of the official name for coronary artery disease, and that's that plaque formation. So So why do we care about this? So like I mentioned, it's very common, and by common, we have 30 million adults in the United States with heart disease. And of those 30 million, 18 million are the coronary disease alone, not to also include heart failure and electrical issues and rhythm issues and congenital things, of course. So that's a lot of folks with heart problems. So again, I have a lot of patients. Definitely am not a shortage. But if coronary disease, which we'll talk about, is there's a lot of things that you can modify to prevent that, can be prevented, then that takes away 18 million people. That takes away a good chunk of folks. And then if that's gone, then the heart failure related to that and the electrical issues related to that, they're all going to be gone. So that's the goal, is to eliminate as much as we can of the not congenital heart disease, but the I'm forgetting the word of what I want to say. You know, when you get it. Acquired. Yes. I don't have a gift for you, Angie. I know. I'll give you a chocolate back in the office. Dark chocolate. The other issue with it being so common is that it is fatal. So it is the #1 leading cause of death. I'm sure you've heard that. If you've not heard that, then you've probably been under a rock somewhere. But that's for men and women. That's in the United States. That's around the world. That's across races and ages. You know, your younger people, of course, is probably not the #1, but in general, being #1, #2 to it is cancer. Cancer and heart disease, you'll see, have a lot of the same risk factors. So you adjust your risk factors for one, you're adjusting for the other, and now you've got the top 2 leading causes of death eliminated for you, hopefully, or at least reduced. Okay? So the statistic, 1 person dies every 37 seconds in the United States from heart disease. That's huge. So just in my 3 minutes of being up here, 6 people have died of heart disease. Just in the United States, not to mention in the rest of the world. 1 in 4 deaths that occur in the United States are due to heart disease, and so roughly 650,000 per year. Of those deaths, so 40 to 50% of people that die of sudden death from heart disease, that is their first warning sign of heart problems. So they never even had any symptoms. They didn't know that they had any issues. Did they know they were at risk? Yes, and we'll talk about those things, but they didn't know that they had anything going on. And so their first sign is a heart attack that causes sudden death. And of those are not resuscitated most commonly. So that's why it's important to recognize the risk and what we're doing here so that you're not one of those statistics. Oh, and it's very costly. $220 billion a year for the United States. And heart disease is not just for young people, but it is, or not just for old people, but we do have some young folks with heart disease, but it is more common in our 65 and older. So 65 and older, who's paying their insurance? Medicare, and that is a tax-funded, right? So the government really foots the bill on a lot of that. So we're talking $220 billion a year, and that is by private commercial insurers, us, tax dollars and things. So think about the money that could be shifted towards other programs if we weren't paying for heart disease because we were taking care of ourselves instead. So how to recognize heart disease? I mean, I think people have heard this before, but I two weekends ago, I had 2 women patients that had heart attacks. And one of the women, she was like, I'm telling you, I am going and I'm telling everybody that women have heart attacks. And I said, what? And for me, I think, have there not been enough advertisements? It's kind of like, drugs are bad. How is that, I think everybody knows that. And you have sex and you have an STD, right? And you have that risk. And so you just think that that's inherent, but I don't know that it really is, or it's not deep enough. It hasn't hit them personally or whatever. So they kind of know it up here, but they don't really know it until it's them. So she was like, and I had pain here and up in my jaw and my arm, and I was like, Yeah, that's about as classic as it gets, honey. I know, and I had no idea. I let it go for hours. Right? I know you guys are all like, what? And she said, and I knew the signs. I knew chest pain. I knew jaw pain. I remember seeing the posters. But when it's happening to you, the big thing that people say is that they didn't think they would have heart disease, that they wouldn't have blockages that would cause that. So it has to be something else, right? It has to be heartburn. It has to be, right? Women also have very different presentations, so typically they don't have the chest pressure, you know, the elephant sitting on their chest, the squeezing around them. They may just have jaw pain. Had a lady who just had excruciating ear pain for hours. Came in, ear looked fine, mastoid process looked fine, everything looked fine. Someone thought, maybe let's just get an EKG. She's at risk, you know, having a big, huge heart attack. And that was her only pain. Nausea and vomiting for women, fatigue, and just being short of breath. Patients with diabetes also have atypical symptoms. So although this may be something that you know, you need to take this information and kind of, you know, spread it around as well. If you know a family member that has diabetes, remind them, hey, by the way, you know, your signs of heart problems aren't going to be the same as my signs of heart problems. And really take this information and spread it. All right, so what can we do? So one, we know that we may not be able to recognize signs until it happens. So we then need to say, okay, how can I then make my heart better and how can I make myself healthier? So the first thing that you all are doing is being here today. I mean, that's huge. But it can't stop here. You all have to take this and include someone with you, right? So if they weren't able to be here today, or if you have children at home, or if you have a spouse at home, or your parents, you have to take this and include everyone else, right? We have to go further than this room right here with this information. Your departments, I love the walking thing. I'm so excited. Angie probably is like, oh, great. So we do step challenges with our Fitbit, and I'm kind of obnoxious. I haven't been too bad lately because I've been a little sick. But anyway, so take your departments and really encourage this. Spread this information around. So what can you do to make your heart better? So the first thing is know your numbers. One, you need to be your own advocate. Okay, no one is walking around and coming up to you and saying, oh, do you have heart disease? Right? You need to know that it's the #1 killer and that you need to take charge, take ownership of that. So know your numbers, your blood pressure. Know your blood pressure. How many times have we had some kind of fair on campus where somebody's taking your blood pressure, whether it's a nursing student, pharmacy student, PA student, you all can easily go by and get your blood pressure checked. Pharmacies all have blood pressure machines, right? So know that number. And that number should consistently be less than 130 over 90, okay? Consistently. If you have a little spike every once in a while, that's okay. But that needs to be on you, not the one time you go to your doctor once a year, okay? So you need to take that on, especially if you have a family history and other people in your family have blood pressure. Know your cholesterol. If you are over the age of 20 and you've never had your cholesterol checked, then you probably either aren't going to see a provider or they haven't thought about it, okay? So we recommend screenings of cholesterol at the age of 20 or younger if like a pediatric patient looks like they have some signs or there's a strong family history of whatever. So then talk about those results with your provider, okay? So know your cholesterol, know your blood pressure, know your weight, okay? Oh, I haven't been doing well with my exercise and diet. I have not gotten on my scale in the last 2.5 weeks because I don't want to know what that number says because I'm like, I can fix it later, right? But we can't avoid that. I went maybe 9 months without getting on the scale and didn't realize that I had put on 20 pounds. I was the same weight as I was when I was 41 weeks pregnant. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's bad, right? So if you don't know your weight, do it. Embrace it and say, how can I fix it, right? Your 10-year atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease risk, this is something that you could do for fun. So you could just Google this, 10-year ASCVD risk, and say, okay, so what is my risk of having a cardiovascular event, so heart attack or stroke, in the next 10 years? And it takes you to this, and you enter in your age, you enter in your blood pressure, your cholesterol, which again, you got to know your numbers. whether you smoke or not, which is huge. And it'll say, okay, so you have a 27% risk of having a cardiovascular event in the next 10 years. Does that not like just stir up all kinds of emotions of, oh my gosh, right? Versus if you put in all your numbers and you're really good, so I'm gonna put my numbers in and it's gonna say 3%, just kidding. For sake of time, I won't do it, but, and that's probably not correct for me. We use this with our students. We tell them to pull this up with their patients and really, really give them some data, right? Some of us need those facts. They need that to hit home. So you can always Google that and play around with it if you like. Take one of your risk factors. If your blood pressure is high and it's in there, then change it and make it controlled and see what does that do to your 10-year risk. If you smoke and you take that away, see what that does to your 10-year risk, your cholesterol, etc., and really kind of embrace what all of those little things will do. And the last is, of course, if you do have diabetes, you should absolutely be managing your glucose very tightly, and so you should know your A1C. And you should be able to, anytime you go to the doc, if they say, how's your sugar, is that pretty well controlled? Yeah, it's good, I check it at home. Well, what was your last A1C? I don't know, what's that? That's not showing that you know your numbers. So know your numbers, and you should at least want to be less than 7. And then get moving. I think we definitely had some inspiration there. So exercise is huge. Being inactive, so most of us probably sit quite a bit during the day, and then if you go home and continue to sit, that level of activity is actually just as much at risk for heart disease as smoking. Right? So, I mean, that makes me really want to get up and move because I'm like, oh, smoking's bad, smoking does this, smoking does that, and then I'm like, but I don't move throughout the day and I don't exercise, and that puts me in the same category. Oh my gosh, right? So you got to get moving. 20 to 30 minutes is sufficient to reduce your risk. Beyond that is great, and it helps with muscle mass and those kind of things. But to reduce your cardiovascular risk, 20 to 30 minutes of moderate exercise. Get your heart rate up. You should be a little short of breath. You should not be able to sing a full, cantata and have a great conversation. That is not good, right? And then 3 to 5 times a week. And then change what else you can. You cannot change your genetics, right? If everybody in your family has had heart attacks, you can't change that. You can't take your genes out, wash them, and put them back on. They're not Levi's. You also can't change your age. You can't change your gender. Those are the things that you can't change, but you can change all kinds of other things. So we mentioned diet already. That's huge. Mediterranean diet is probably the #1 that has the best data when it comes to reducing cardiovascular risks. And that's really just, good healthy fats, so low in saturated fats, veggies, fruits, whole grains, nuts. Avoiding processed foods, that's probably where our society has just plummeted. As I eat my Cliff Bar up there, it probably has 20,000 chemicals in it and it's processed, but that was my lunch. Avoiding sugary drinks, I think that's huge. So they've done, they did Healthy People 2020 where they were trying, that was one of the goals, was healthy eating and weight loss in adults and pediatric populations. And they actually showed great results with the adults, but peds went down. So we have more sugary drinks being consumed by kids. We have worse diets now in our kids, but our adults are doing well. Well, guess what those kids are going to do? They're going to grow up and continue those same bad habits. So instead of it going the other way around, we're seeing that our kids are worsening. Alcohol's huge. How much alcohol is an appropriate amount of alcohol per day for a woman? I don't have prizes. Again, sorry. 3 drinks for a woman a day? 1. That's right. 1 for a woman, 1 to 2 for a man. And that's 12 ounces of beer, 4 ounces of wine, or 1.5 of liquor.
Depends on the beer, though.
Well, the proof, yes. Do not, however, go drink if you don't drink. So there was a lot of research that came out, that red wine is good for you, that it has antioxidants, and it has all these heart healthy properties. And it does if you're already consuming it. But there are other things that have just as healthy antioxidants. So don't pick up a bottle of red wine to drink for its heart protective things. But if you're going to choose something, it has the best data, okay? So if you're already drinking, red wine's great. But you should really limit it. Excessive alcohol leads to problems with your plumbing, your electricity, and your structure of your heart. So it really is important to make sure that you keep that to a minimum. And then smoking. I can't stress that. Smoking is, of the risk factors, it's the number one, as well as your blood pressure and your cholesterol. So, you know, there's a lot of smoking options to quit smoking if you do quit, or if you do smoke. I would definitely figure out how to. Even occasional smoking, like that social smoking at the bar that some of us did in college. Yeah, it does increase your risk just the same. So all smoking should be eliminated. And there's, of course, a lot of mixed data about the e-cigarettes, so I won't go into that, of course. I would just avoid any inhaled products. The last thing I kind of want to leave you on is putting all of this together. So the American Heart Association, their goal for 2030, so 2020 was looking at specific things. 2030, they're really talking about how can we extend our healthy adjusted life expectancy. Because when we talk about we want to live for a while, right? I do, but I don't want to be 80 if I can't move around, if I can't be with my grandkids, if going to the beach I can't do because I can't hang out with them, right? I don't want to live that long if I can't really enjoy my life. And what we're seeing is that that healthy adjusted life expectancy is going down. Although our life expectancy is staying the same, we're not healthy. We're not able to live a good life. West Virginia is that dark red, is the lowest. So West Virginia, the average health adjusted life expectancy is 62 years. Whereas if you look at Minnesota, it's the highest at 70, and California is about 70. But our low side is 59. So when I have patients in the hospital that they're 40, and I've got 90-year-olds that are healthier than my 40-year-olds. We are really seeing this downward spiral of a healthy life. Because we can keep you alive with things, but is that a healthy life? And that's really what we're striving for. We're not striving to just keep you alive, we want to keep you alive and healthy. So work on all of those things and take this information and spread it. Include everyone you can. I can't tell you how passionate I am about reducing heart disease. I would love to never have any patients with heart attacks ever again. So, because that's when they usually want to make a change, and unfortunately, it's too late. So, and I believe that's all I got. So.